طيب المسيئين عدل وتفضل نشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقى فقد قال أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه الصلاة والسلام غائبا منكره حاضرا معروفه مقبلا خيره مدبرا شره صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice the taqwa of Allah, as is the best of provisions. Indeed, these are the ayyam and the days in which we mark the celebration of Anwar-e-Sha'baniyah, the Wiladat ba-Sa'adat of one of the greatest personalities in the family of Ahlul Bayt, Hazrat Abul Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. Of course, surrounded by two ma'asumeen, first the third imam and then the fourth imam. And then, of course, this month doesn't end there. The wiladat continue in the form of Shahzada Qasim, Hazrat Ali Akbar, and of course, 15th of Shaban marks the prosperous birth of Imam of our time, Imam Mahdi, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. So heartiest congratulations to all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat on these auspicious nights. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala fulfill your hajat in these nights, in these days, the amal that you perform during these nights and days. And as we've been mentioning, emphasizing since the month of Rajab, the important acts that are mentioned and recommended, especially during the month of Rajab and now in the month of Shaban. One of the famous traditions from the Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam, in which he, after mentioning that the month of Rajab is Allah's, and he says, Sha'banu shahri, the month of Shaban is my month, and whoever fasts in my month, I will be there to do their shafa'at on the day of judgment. So of course, this is how, as we refer to this concept, man sabaqat rahmatuhu ghadabah, that there's only mercy in Islam. There's only mercy as far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned. How easy could things and affairs be? But all you've got to do is live up to the expectation in a sense that you perform the fast of this month. Now, it does not mean a person would be a violent individual or a criminal just merely performing the fast of the month of Shaban. They will have the benefit of what Rasulullah is saying over here. In fact, it is the reverse effect of fasting in the month of Ramadan, fasting in the month of Shaban, that will make this criminality of this individual away from him. Because fasting has that ability. One of the things that is recommended in Quran as well for those who want to safeguard themselves from illicit desires. First and foremost is to not suppress these desires, rather, use them, implement it where it is halal for you. But if that's not possible, فَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ, as the ayat of Quran talks about, and if it's not possible, the other means of suppressing them or to controlling the desires is to fast. Fasting becomes that shield in front of those illicit desires. That's how it squashes all of the illicit desires that come into our minds. And so therefore, while fasting has that effect of self-building and self-purification, even if a criminal was to go ahead and utilize the opportunity to fast in the month of Shaban, the fast itself will go ahead and cleanse this individual, for which he will be ready for the shafa'at of Rasulullah when he deserves it on the day of judgment. So with this, I recited these words from Maulana Muttaqiyan, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, when he speaks and talks about those who are the pious and muttaqeen. Imam says, Muttaqeen are someone ghaiban munkaruhu, hadiran ma'rufuhu, that his evils are invisible and his virtues are ever present. His good is ahead and his mischief has turned its face from him. Explaining the attributes of muttaqeen, Maulana Muttaqiyan says, Muttaqi is someone that their evil or haram acts are hidden and their good and halal acts are visible. Now what's the philosophy behind that? And then can a muttaqi get near haram and that which is considered to be evil? Imam uses the term ghaib for munkar and hadir for maruf. This tells us that the ghaib or the hidden is a permanent feature. Otherwise, it is against the stature of the pious to allow their soul to act indecently even for a moment. So when his evil is behind, does not necessarily mean that this person commits the evil all the time and keeps it behind him. Then it would be what? Munafiq rather than a muttaqi. We can also give a probability that hidden doesn't mean completely absent. After all, this is a human being. He's not infallible, right? They are fallible, prone to committing mistakes and making mistakes. So Imam is not saying this person is all of a sudden now what? Infallible. No, it still is fallible, can do wrong, but keeps it in a way which does not affect anyone else. So he says we can give the probability that hidden doesn't mean completely absent, as the word present is used on the opposite, which would mean that since pious are not infallible, it is possible for them to make a mistake. It is kept hidden from the eyes of the public and doesn't pollute the surrounding. Now there are two types of sins. One is that is committed openly and the effects of it are also open, meaning it affects people that are in the surrounding. And then there's a sin which is committed secretly, can still affect people in the out. But if the effects of it are hidden and are not polluting and not giving anyone else the idea, then at least that is a smaller sin. So from that aspect, we understand that sins might have different stages and different levels. And that is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks about the sins which are considered to be minor and there are sins that are considered to be major. And how do you differentiate between the two? Major are the ones for which Allah has promised the wrath and the flames of fire and Jahannam in Quran. Those are all major sins. And then opposite of those are considered to be the minor sins. With this understanding, we understand that pious is not someone who's committing these major sins. He's one who might be involved in smaller sins, minor sins. And that is one way of removing your majors. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran also says, if you were to stay away from kaba'ir, we will overlook your saghair. Look at the beauty of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that as long as you stay away from the major sins, we know that you will continue to commit minor sins, we will overlook your minor sins. As long as you can do the promise of staying away from those things which are considered to be major. So, it is often heard that by people that so-and-so is a good person, we haven't seen any bad from him, all we've seen is good come out of them. It is indicative that the fact that person cannot be, we cannot call them infallible. غَائِبًا مُنْكِرُهُ وَحَاضِرًا مَعْرُوفُهُ. This person fits this category which Imam is mentioning. That his evil, which he might commit by himself and only affects him, is behind him, not public. Rather, his good is something which is beneficial and benefiting the others. So here's a discussion on ma'roof and munkar. Where else have you heard ma'roof and munkar? You've heard it in amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar. But the classification of the words ma'roof and munkar. So ma'roof comes from the root irfan. Irfan means something that is known or recognized. When you see it, you can understand it and you can recognize it. Whereas munkar comes from inkar, which is a denial, mean that which is unrecognized. So that's how the etymology of the two words ma'roof and munkar is. Raghib Isfahani, who's written a book called Mufradat al-Quran, where he discusses the words that have appeared in Quran specifically, and then does the tashri' and the commentary on those words, provides a linguistic understanding of what these words that are used in Quran mean. Because of course we understand, Kalam-e-Hakim is not that easy. While it is easy to understand and comprehend, but it requires someone to explain it to us. And that's why we have never separated Quran with Ahlul Bayt. As the instructions of the Prophet were, Inni tarikum fikumut taqalain. Two things are together. Don't take one and leave the other. If you do so, then you will run into this issue. So here we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when this book uses the words, there are different means and understanding of these words. Words such as hudan, right? You use the word, you hear the word hudan. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The word huda in Arabic is used close to 29 times and in different meanings. Not always the word huda means guidance. It could refer to something else as far as the context of the ayat is concerned. So there are many ayat which use similar words but might contain a different meaning. So Raghib Isfahani comes and does that. So if you ever need to look up a word which you are not understanding why is it used in this context, even if you read the translation of it, Raghib Isfahani in his book Mufradat will explain that. He says ma'roof refers to every action. Now keep in mind, he only focuses on the words that have appeared in Quran. He said ma'roof refers to every action which is recognized by the aql and sharia as kind and good. So ma'roof is not everything that could be considered ma'roof in the public's view, but that which aql deems it to be good, and on top of that, Shariat also considers that thing to be good. Now there's a possibility. Certain things might look good from your aql, but the Shariat might say, well, no, it is not good. There's a possibility. There are certain things that might be harmless. They might be harmless, but Shariat says, do not approach it, do not go near it, do not do it, do not perform it. So you find these sort of varieties that exist. So ma'roof, according to our understanding, is what? Has two attributes. One, Shariat also accepts it, and also aql accepts it. If it fits the criteria of these two, then you can consider that thing to be ma'roof, good and kind. On the contrary, munkar is an act which lacks kindness and goodness through these two, aql and sharia. So same criteria. Munkar is also perceived through aql and sharia, and same thing is when it comes to ma'roof, which is perceived through aql and sharia. Therefore, a good action is called ma'roof, recognized, since Allah has created insan on nature where good habits and characteristics are known to him. It's not like good things are hidden from you. Sometimes they're intuitive. Growing up, certain things that you develop and learn, they're ma'roof. They're good things that are intuitive, that are in the nature of insan. Allah has created you on that nature. Allah has created you on good nature. Nature which is sound and perfect. Yes, it's the environment that we are brought up in and the influences of the people around us that make us go in one or the other direction. But the original khilqat of insan and the fitrat of insan, is it evil? No, fitrat of insan from the very beginning is not evil. So, things that are known to him such as piety, preferring others over himself, ithar, justice, generosity, as if he has been intimate with these in another place and now recognizes them. So before your creation, Allah made you intimate with these characteristics. Now that you come into this world, right away you recognize them. When you start recognizing them, that is considered to be ma'roof. And that which you put on the scale which is evil and you do inkar of, that is considered to be munkar. So munkar has an ugly face of injustice and oppression which is unknown to the nature of human beings. There are many ayat in Quran where the word ma'roof has appeared. For example, Surah Baqarah 178 says, فَاتِّبَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, meaning to follow the path which is the path of ma'roof, which is the path of goodness. This is about the retribution. And if one forgives, it says, let the follow-up for blood money be honorable. So, for example, someone takes the life of another individual by mistake. They're not given the capital punishment. You were driving, you weren't involved in reckless accident, something happened, someone gets hit, and God forbid that person dies. Do you get thrown into the jail? No. Because you were well within what you had done, and it happened all of a sudden, and you were not at fault. And even if you were, there's no criminal charges. I don't know the criminal system over here. But it's not like, this is requiring what? Capital punishment, because this was not intentionally done. So here we look at the same thing. It says when you take someone's life, and back in the day when this used to happen, it says there's retribution, there's blood money, indemnity. So not only on top of the punishment, what do you have to do? You have to pay what is called indemnity, the blood money for, God forbid, taking someone's life. Or actually not even taking life. Other areas, there's also indemnity. Even just, if someone's blood is spilled, there's still indemnity for that. It says in this ayat about retribution that if one forgives, let the follow-up, the blood money, be honorable. Make this to be something which is ma'roof, not something which is looked down upon. And then it says, فَإِمْسَاكٌ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. This is about divorce. That once you have divorced twice, then let there be an honorable retention or kind release. If you want, there's been 2 divorces already. Third one means what? You are haram, ba'in, and you can never remarry. So now, think about it. Have a solid understanding of it before you move forward with it. Either you retain honorably, or you let go with ma'roof. Forget about the second divorce. Usually what we've seen in our communities and societies is that even after the first divorce, there's no ma'roof. There's no honorable way of separating. There's always jango jidal, fighting, and things that can never be repaired. And as if these two belong to different tribes, different nations which are at war, and there could not be any peace between the two of them. And that's how usually the divorces end up happening in our communities, in our societies. While Quran is saying what? If you want to separate, imsakun bima'roof, that you either let go in the state which is honorable, which is ma'roof, which is good. And then other areas where the word ma'roof has been used, I'm running out of my time, is qawlun ma'roof. A word which is a ma'roof, a good word, recognized by people to be what? Good. And we all understand the good words and the bad words, right? We tell the kids, don't say this is a bad word. We know these. This is intuitive in a sense. You understand it. And then the word which is used in different contexts, that can also be reflective of it being ma'roof or munkar. But Quran, where it uses the word qawlun ma'roof, says what? It says in the area when you have done good already. When you have done good already, you have given, for example, charity, you've done good deed, you've helped out, provided community service, something which people are proud of you. And then what do? You reproach and you start bragging. After you start bragging, this ayat is revealed. It says, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ أَوْ مَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا الْأَذَى. A good word, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوف. A kind word is better than the charity that you had done, because the charity will be null and void. If you're going to go ahead and brag about it and boast about it and reproach, then might as well not have done any charity. It's a qawlun ma'rufun khayrun min sadaqah. It's better than that sadaqah which you gave and then you started bragging about it. So qawlun ma'ruf is used over here. And then ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf. This is about how you live with your spouses. What kind of relationship should you have when you live with your spouses? Quran says, unless they commit a gross indecency, live with your spouses in a good manner. Ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf. Again, a word, ma'ruf, is used here to explain that. And of course, there are many such explanations and the word usage of the word ma'ruf that has appeared in Quran. I'll skip that for maybe another time. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Couple of words from the kalam of Ma'asumin in regards to the word ma'roof. Sixth Imam said, Awwalu man yadkhulul jannah ahlul ma'roof. The first and the foremost who will enter the paradise are those who are ahlul ma'roof. Meaning what? Live a life of ma'roof, good life. From all aspects. When people see their ma'roof is present, their evil is absent. These are the people that are being referred to in such ahadith. And of course, what do we do, as far as to cure this habit of reproach and to be able to cleanse ourselves from this disease? There are a few things that must be taken under consideration. Number one, firstly, try not to brag after you have done something good for someone. Hadith says, Milakul maroof, tarkul manni bihi. That is actually the first step of it. So, the moment you've done something good, walk away from it. Urdu mein kya kehte hain? Neki kar, darya mein dal. I don't know if there's a similar, slang in English. I'm sure there is. Magar Urdu mein kya hai? Neki kar darya mein dal. Yani do a good deed, a righteous act, and then throw it into the river. When you throw something into the river, you don't go after it. You don't try to bring it out. You don't try to flash it around in front of people, right? Put it in the vault. Maybe that's why it is. Put it in the vault. You've done good, put it in the vault. Do you do that? Of course, this is where it'll increase that ma'roof in you and it'll make you continue doing more and more. Therefore, keep your good actions alive without having the need to mention it. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Ahyul ma'roofa bi imatatihi fa innal minnata tahdimus sani'a. Refrain from destroying your acts of goodness by constant reproaching. Keep it alive. Number two, do not leave your actions incomplete. An incomplete action is as good as not done at all. So don't leave your actions incomplete, since the beauty of an action is when it is completed. Jamalul ma'rufe itmamuhu. The beauty of ma'roof is that when it is completed, also the end of an action is better than its beginning. Ikmalul ma'rufe ahsanu min ibtida'ihi. The beginning of an action is not as good, but the end is something which has to be on its best. That's why always we make what dua? We make dua that Allah make our aqibat bil khair. Even if our beginning was not bil khair, make our aqibat bil khair. And that is one of the best du'as that a person can make. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to fill our lives with ma'rufat and refrain from munkarat. If we have more ma'ruf and less munkar, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep it that way. And if we have both ma'ruf and munkar, we ask Allah to keep our ma'rufat visible and keep our munkarat invisible. إن أحسن الحديث وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه ووسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفحا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو العطوف على العباد بجوده والعباد والمذنبين بعلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين ألا قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفية إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفي المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء ولي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر ولي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي ولي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلام عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. من يذكر فقد ذكرى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك حجة الابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعيدا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jummah Mubarak to everyone. Let us recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Rizwan Kazmi and Rana Kazmi. Please recite Surah Fatiha for their marhumin as well as yours, including Syed Shamimul Hasnan Abdi, Bedar Kazmi, Irfan Kazmi, Zishan Kazmi, Raza Abdi, Kaniz Zahra, Najmi Begum, or Khurshid Begum. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah. Meher Jahan. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As you've been following, inshallah, the gesture to celebrate the Anwar-e-Sha'baniya, the celebration of the third Imam, the fourth Imam's Wiladat, as well as at Abbas, will take place tomorrow here, Saturday, starting with Salat-e-Maghriban at 6 p.m., Namaz-e-Maghriban at 6 p.m., followed by poetry in Urdu, and then inshallah followed by Jashan recited by guest speaker Maulana Sheikh Amir Mukhtar Faizi, who will be joining us from Chicago. So do take part. Inshallah, dinner will be served after the program. So it's an important event, as these days are, of course, scarce in our communities, because with everything else that is going on. Do take advantage of these jushans that are taking place. Take part in it. Be part of it. Bring your families. It's a whole family event. Everyone can benefit from it. So inshallah, that'll be tomorrow, Saturday, at 6 p.m. starting with Salat Maghriban, inshallah. Also, weekend, so Saturday and Sunday, start your day right with Salat al-Fajr here at Masjid-e-Ali. Come for Salat at 6 a.m. On Saturdays, we have Quran circle where we recite Quran and read the tafsir of Quran, followed by breakfast served downstairs. And as well as on Sunday, we have Salat at 6 a.m., followed by Dua and Ziyarat Ashura, followed by the breakfast. So do take advantage of these programs that are also being offered. Just lastly, you've seen as you walked in, Sadi School PTO is selling some goods, Shahi Faj, Halim, Samosa, mango juice, all that good stuff out there, of course for a good cause. So do support them as you make your way out after the Salatul Jummah. Let's recite this dua sehat for all of those people who are in need of dua, suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time. All of those people who have asked and requested for dua, especially the victims, especially the people who are still recovering from the earthquake in Syria and Turkey. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما 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 يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض إله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. اللهم صل. Just reminded that tonight also for our youth, ages 13 and up, are welcome to join us tonight for the youth program that we've been having on Friday nights. The program will start at 7 p.m. With a short discussion led by me, inshallah, how to cope with the struggles of the life and, with decency under the teachings of Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So inshallah, that'll be the topic of discussion, followed by some board games that kids can definitely enjoy. So if you have kids aged 13 and up, do make them come and join this program, inshallah, Friday night, tonight at 7 p.m. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah, ashhadu anna Aliyan hujjatullah, hayya ala salati, hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala khayr al-amal, حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب ادخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح.